thing about greenhorns is you get these kids and they come in and they're all jacked up. They got something to prove. Well, Tyler Brooks came to me and he said to me, Mr. Spectre, Coach Spectre, can you make me a star? And I said, kid, I don't know what I could do with you. At the moment, you look like reconstituted dog shit to me. But, you know, I personally have very often taken dog shit and turned it into diamonds. That's what the big boss does. And, you know, the thing about Tyler Brooks, young Tyler Brooks, is this was a man who was on the come up. He was showing me a lot. But then, you know, there's a thing in this business. It's about respect. The business about respect, respecting your elders, respecting your betters. And what did he do? I'm on an IWC show. I'm cutting a promo. I'm talking to the crowd. I'm not talking to Tyler Brooks. I'm not talking to those idiots in the locker room. I'm addressing the fans. They should be Glenn Spectre fans. They're not. They don't like me, but that's because they're idiots. There's a lot of those. It's fine. It's fine. I don't take offense. There's a lot of people of low intellect. You know, what can you do? All right? But this kid has the audacity, Brian, to step into my spotlight. And what happens? Well, he got a boss man slam for it. He got the big boss slam. He got hit with the big boss slam. I put him down on the mat, and I thought, after all the times I've had to beat this kid's ass in training, I thought maybe I had taught him a lesson. But the problem with youth is that lessons are very hard learned. So Tyler Brooks, on July 8th, step into the ring. Just remember that the big boss taught you everything you knew about pro wrestling. But the one thing is, the big boss did not teach you everything he knows about pro wrestling. And that's all you people need to know. Let's rock and roll. My name is Big Boss Glenn Spectre. You know, I've been tooling around the Indies for quite some time. Though I did take a hiatus. I took some time off. I started wrestling back right at the end of '99, beginning of 2000s when I started training. I just finishing up college. I became an indie standout. Went to Japan, wrestled for DDT. Everybody loves DDT. DDT's awesome. Did a bunch of tours for DDT. Won the tag titles with Dan Dino. Now I wrestle as the Big Boss. It's the Iron City Wrestling Academy. I teach at their IWC, International Wrestling Cartel. It's a Pittsburgh promotion, best promotion in Pittsburgh, especially in terms of like production value, things like that. I mean, like if you watch their shows, the shows are incredible. And I wrestle a lot of the local indies in the area again now. I'm like out on the road, you know, a couple weekends a month, working a lot with younger wrestlers and things like that, trying to pass on what I know. I always said I didn't write the book on pro wrestling, but I've read a few pages. It's been a great time. It's been crazy to be back. If you told me 3 years ago when I stepped back into a ring that it was going to end up like this and I was going to be traveling again and all this stuff, and I was going to have ambitions again to maybe do some television or whatever, I would have been like, fuck off, brother. Like, but it's turned out great. You know, it's pro wrestling is, I actually, one of the earliest things I did after I came back and was training and stuff like that was, I have a friend who works at University of Pittsburgh, and they actually had me give a lecture for a class he did on how pro wrestling relates to politics. And I started the lecture out with pro wrestling is the greatest human endeavor ever created. Fuck landing on the moon. That doesn't matter. Forget nuclear power, going to the Marianas Trench, all that stuff. And, take all that, throw it in the garbage. Professional wrestling is the most important thing we will ever do. When we're extinct, aliens are going to come down. They're going to find this pro wrestling, and they're going to be like, "Oh my God, this was amazing."
Too short.
Well, yeah, he could be. We talk about creeping while you're sleeping with facade. You don't want to sleep on Gory or any of the culmination.
And Spectre trying to appeal to Gory's senses. Hey, once upon a time, Glenn was a ghost. He was a devil's advocate. He can speak Gory's language, or maybe bait him in with a high heel kick.
Wrestling's done a lot of good for me. There are parts of it that, like everybody coming up, there are things I wish I had done differently, or things that could have gone better, obviously. Yeah. But at the same time, I hold no grudge. It's been overwhelmingly positive, in the long run, especially for my overall like fitness and things like that, and my general outlook and well-being. Which is crazy to say because wrestling fucks a lot of people up.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does.
If you let it, it can get on top of you. And luckily, my second run, I'm in a different mindset, and it definitely got on top of me when I was younger. And now that I'm older and I have more of a fuck off attitude, like it's been way more enjoyable, and I can kind of step outside and look at it for how awesome it really is and how lucky I am to be a part of it.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people, me being one of them, that always has their what if stories. And you know this story, boss, as well as anybody, because we talked about it and you were there in secondhand, but you were there when I was trying to start my own journey. A lot of us who really grew up loving the business, wanting to get into the business, and things get in the way. Life is, what Lennon said it best, life's what happens to you when you're busy making other plans.
And you try to shake my hand because I'm the champ. You want to shake a winner's hand? Well, I don't shake hands with losers. So understand, everything I say after this statement, this is not a babyface promo.
Now, I shared with Joe your match with the late great Brodie Lee. That was probably
magical.
For me, one of the greatest indie matches that I've seen.
Thank you.
It really is. And for me to say something like that, because I'm not just saying it because I know you, but with the exception of that, because I know that was one of your best matches. Mm-hmm. What was one of your greatest experiences in the business?
So, there's so many good ones. That's definitely up there. At the time, Brodie was just a friend, a guy I liked. Like, we weren't super, super close, but because we'd feuded for a year, we hung out after parties. Excuse me while I tear the curtain of kayfabe away from the business. I'm sorry, we bitterly hated each other the entire time. And if I saw him at a Starbucks, I spit in his coffee. Like,
there you go.
No. We had a good working relationship. First of all, Rip, I really do think the guy was the genuine article. He was just an absolute sweetheart, fun to work with. Never always looking out for the other person, making sure everybody in the match got over, stuff like that.
You were the heel in that. You were the heel in that match, but
I was the heel of that. I was the top heel in that company.
Wow.
At the time, not to toot my own horn, but toot. That's an interesting story all in and of itself. I was doing the Wonderman gimmick. So for those who don't know, which is probably a lot of people, because I came up my rise to Indy stardom, that sounds arrogant. It's not when I had my best run, when I came closest to being looked at by the Fed and things like that, getting to do extra work for the Fed, going to Japan, whatever you want to call that, because I never got to the level, like I said, I never attained the level I wanted to attain. So I'm not trying to make it out like, oh yeah, this guy's a superstar, because I'm not. Most people probably watching this might not even know who I am. Though it's worth the Google.
Smartening them up.
Definitely feel comfortable saying I was an indie standout.
Yeah.
And so I was doing really good work, and I definitely was on to something. And at the time, because of my gig in Japan, I had started to do a, like, I mean, for lack of a better word, a gay gimmick, like I was playing an effeminate character, a very Gold Dust kind of character. And it was funny, Mike Rosario, Hellcat from Upstate Pro Wrestling, that was one of Brodie Lee's, like, that was one of the places he was working. It was also one of the places I was working. It was one of my favorite road trips, Rochester, New York. I wish I could be there more. Whenever I'm there, I always feel like it's a second home. It has the greatest piece of regional cuisine ever created, the Rochester Garbage Plate. I highly recommend it. It's my kind of eating. It's like giant baby man eating. Like, just throw everything onto the plate, and I'll just mash it up and eat it together.
There we go.
I had gotten booked at Upstate. I would assume off of one of my Japan runs or something like that. I don't know how Rosario exactly found me. And when he originally brought me up, I don't know what his full intentions were. They definitely were playing off of, so like I was doing the Wonderman thing, and so the gag of the initial thing, and this is a really interesting story. The gag of it was I came in and I wrestled one of their babyface girls. And the joke was that the promoter didn't realize that I was a guy. Like, and so because they were like, they're like Wonder Woman, and it's like, oh wait, no, it's not. It's this guy in a Wonder Woman outfit. And so the person I wrestled is Amanda Huber. Which is just a weird connection.
Wow.
Like, right?
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
so when I dropped the title to him after a year, it's kind of like a full circle thing when you look at it in retrospect. Nobody knew they were going to get married,
Right.
But it's just a fun little, like, it's just one of those weird, fun anecdotes of life. Like, you're like, oh, yeah. And then, so her name was, I believe, like Cindy Sin or something like that, or just Cindy, like Syndy, her wrestling name. And so I came in, Rosario brought me in, and I just brutalized her because they wanted to get that heel heat. And so after that, I didn't know what he wanted to do with me, and I certainly didn't think that the next show he was gonna put me over on Danny Doring and have me win their world title. Like, that was really shocking. And that's when I kind of realized that he had a lot of faith in whatever I did, he liked, and he saw something in that. And like, I always give him credit. I really wish we could have a working relationship now, and maybe we will at some point. Like, but I can't ever take away credit. He was one of the first guys on the Indies to really kind of believe in like what I was doing and like what I was capable of, and like, give me a good chance to, and I think I earned it too. But it was shocking how quick it happened.
Hold up, that's not happening.
One second.
Oh, you shut your damn mouth. I want to make something perfectly clear. Okay, shut your mouth. I got the mic. And here is how it's going to be. My name is Glenn Spectre, the Wonderman. I have taken this belt all over the world. I have taken this belt to Japan. I will not, I repeat, I will not participate in any kind of hardcore match because, frankly, you people don't deserve it. Look at you. I look at all the guys out here, and I wouldn't sleep with any one of you. So you understand how it's going to be? Jimmy Olsen, you don't get your title match. I'm vetoing it. You haven't earned it, and I certainly am not going hardcore with someone as ugly as you.
Now, this is like the mid-aughts, right? Like 2004, 2005, right?
Yes. Yep.
So now, just for those that maybe are too young to realize, how big of a deal that is.
Dude, don't tell me we have audiences younger than that.
I hope not. I hope not.
I guarantee you do.
But just in case, Danny Doring was a really, really big name because you figure that was a couple of years after ECW went.
Oh, he's fresh off his ECW
and
run.
he was fresh off his ECW run. So that was huge because ECW in Philly and in New York and that entire territory, it was big. Like WWF at the time and WCW could not go to anywhere in the Eastern Pennsylvania, New York State region without ECW chants. So to get the rub over Danny Doring, that was huge for those that don't really get it.
He was great. He was absolutely great to work with, and like one of the coolest guys on the Indies. And I would see him again at other shows, and he always treated everybody really well for the most part. Like easy to get along with, easy to work with, had no complaints. I mean, he went like, despite the fact that I went over it, he looked strong because we had a lot. I mean, like we had interference from not only I was given like a stable of flunkies, really good guys, but like, the classic heel stable of bad guys, to run in and do stuff. And so I wanted to, I helped plan, obviously like I helped plan the match out and stuff like that. And I really wanted to give him I wanted him to have because he was doing me such a huge solid. I also wanted him to have, kind of like the best, like the possible version of this loss. And so the way we had planned it out was literally he gets to bump every one of my flunkies. And right as he turns around, it was great tease. At the time I was using Miracle Ecstasy, which is Ben Teo's finish. It's a sit out chokeslam gimmick. And so I grab his neck and I hook him for the thing. He slips to behind me, hits me with the bareback. And now the fans are like, all right. So first when I grab him after the 3 flunkies, it's like, oh, you're good. The fans think, oh, now I've got him because I've interfered so much. He slips behind me, hits the bareback. Now they're like, oh, I'm gonna, now I'm gonna lose.
Yeah.
But then Abyss hits the ring.
Oh.
Electric chair drop, boom.
Woo!
And then he puts me on top of him. 1, 2, 3, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah, really cool
awesome.
match. Really cool.
And
match.
that led everything.
Some would say overbooked. I disagree, but
and that led to you holding the title and feuding from that point.
Yes, and so from then on, pretty much the storyline became, because right after that, we did some stuff with Brodie, and he was like chasing me, and I was beating up his boys because he had his own crew. Really good guys. Colin Delaney, who's still a trainer to this day. Jimmy Olsen. Now, at the time, it was Jimmy and Colin Olsen. Colin wasn't Colin Delaney. He hadn't had his Fed run yet. And just everybody, there wasn't a person involved in any of this that I disliked. They were all like stellar guys who came to work. They took the business seriously. Fun guys, but they took what happened in the ring seriously. They were all very professional. So essentially, to get back to it, Brodie's chasing me. At one point, I have to go back to DDT, and the promoters understand that. I'm like, look, I'm making okay money at Upstate, but I'm making really actual money overseas. This is the year that, like, around 2005 into 2006 is when I was really trying to make it my job, and I didn't work any other work. I literally just wrestled and tried to scrape it all together. You know what I mean? And so that's very difficult on the indies because, like, back then, it's like if you were getting a $75 or $100 payday, you felt like you were doing all right. Yeah. Like, because paydays, and they still are today. The paydays are shit on the indies. Like, unless you're a name, you're not making really great money.
And you have to put the merch table out and try and get some.
Yeah, I had good merch. Luckily, once again, a lot of this stuff, like I benefited from knowing the right people. Sam Panico, Shirley Doe, a local Pittsburgh, legendary wrestler. He actually helped me with my T-shirt designs and getting all that stuff made. And you get into these situations where you're doing a lot of relationship building because this guy does this, and you find out, out of nowhere, somebody, like I said, like Sam would be like, he's like, well, I could probably come up with a cool T-shirt design for you. And lo and behold, like it's the best selling design that I ended up having, like
Nice.
stuff like that. And then there was another guy that Sam knew that did a T-shirt for me. And so I took those to Japan, made a shit ton more money because once again, like you're getting what you're really just trying to hustle your ass the whole time. And I'll tell you, indie wrestling is a hustle. Like anybody who's making any money there is really, really hustling.
You got this jabroni here, this kid, this Tyler Brooks, that thinks that he can hold your boots.
Glenn Spectre, the big boss, the IWC, the man that trained me in the arts of professional wrestling. The same man that hit me with a cheap shot at Plumber Slam. You were somebody I once respected, admired, hell, I even studied you. But July 8th, at the Courtime Sports Center in Elizabeth, PA, we both may be entering that ring, but only one of us is walking out still intact. And as you lie there, staring up at the ceiling, hearing the crowd chant the name Tyler Brooks, well, you're gonna have to plant that seed in your head that you finally lost. And I can proudly go home and call myself the first IWC rookie to overcome the big boss and win the coach's challenge.
July 8th is this is the thing. Like, if you haven't been to an IWC show, and like, you could be like, oh, Glenn, you're overselling it because, this is the company you work for and all that shit.
No.
And like, but I'm like, I'll look in the camera and I can genuinely say these shows are magic. Like, they're well booked. They're everything is done at a high production value. When you go to an IWC show, you're gonna feel like you're gonna feel like you're at any kind of big show. If you watch us on Fight TV, watch the camera work and everything else, everything is tight. Like it honest to God will feel like an AEW show or a WWE show in a lot of ways. We really take this seriously. We're trying to put out a product that is high quality, that is worth your money, but everybody on the card is quality too. And it's, IWC is what I would consider like an elevated indie. I would put it in that same category that, say, people put, like, at the time, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, BC, is it GCW, those kind of shows.
I would too.
It is.
I have a couple of notes about a couple of guys, but my favorite being Spencer Slade. I'm a big
Spencer's a workhorse, man. He is a dynamite workhorse. Great, like, student of the game, great body.
Good on the mic. He's really good.
Yep. He's he has a great look. The stuff he does in the ring looks good, and he tells a good story. Definitely a guy I'd like to compete against at some point. But quality dude, good worker.
Right now, of the work that you're doing now, before you hang up your boots for good.
Oh Jesus!
What's the one thing?
I'll be 80. I don't want to, like,
you and the Lucky Duck man will be wrestling in Fortuna.
Dude, I had such. I'm sorry, you're about to ask like a super question, but I just got wax philosophical. I wrestled I wrestled on another show, KSWA. I wrestled T Ranchula, a local Pittsburgh legend you guys may or may not know, but he's really important to Pittsburgh wrestling. The man is 61, 6'6" and 315 pounds. And that guy can go still. And we brawled, and man, we got to the back. I had to give him props. I said, Jesus, T, I just want to be able to go like you go at 61, man.
So you're giving me hope. You're giving me hope that I could lace up some boots in the future for a little bit.
We'll talk about that.
But I interrupted you. No. Go ahead and give me your question.
So my question is, before you hang up your boots, whether it's next week or in another 20 years, what's the one thing that you want to accomplish?
The closest thing I've said is I want to wrestle for the NWA. I like what they're doing, and I love old school wrestling, and I now I go back and I watch more wrestling from the 70s and 80s than I watch modern stuff a lot of times, though I try to keep up with all the modern stuff too. But as I get older, I have a deeper appreciation for what came before me and stuff. And I feel like that company does have a real appreciation for these guys. and they're really trying to put forth a product that is like reminiscent of the stuff that made me feel like wrestling. Like I said, the term kayfabe gets thrown around very lackadaisically by people and stuff like that, but really makes me feel like it's real. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The like that high energy, like the interviews where like, you know, like where it looks like a fight interview that you'd see with a boxing match, like stuff like that. So I definitely would like to do that. And I feel like I have something to offer still. You know, like I'd work anywhere that they'd want to take me, in terms of like, you know, any of these companies. Like obviously if somebody came calling, but I also don't have any illusions. It's hard to want to invest in a guy who's 45, who took a lot of time off to raise a family. You know, I think I still have a lot to offer the business. I'm a great promo, and I'm really good in the ring. You know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't have a little bit of an ego. Everybody does, but I wouldn't be in that ring, honest to God. And this is a straight shoot. I'm not even getting into character on you guys right this second. I would not be in this ring doing this stuff if I didn't think I had something to offer, and if I didn't think I was still great. Like, you want to see a great match? Glenn Spectre match is a great match. If you come on July 8th, you're going to see that. Like, I'm going to give you a great match. Like, no doubt. That being said, what I'd really like, in like not morbidly, like, is that in this weird way, I'd like my other wrestler buddies who like, and the guys who I help make it other places, because I've worked as a trainer. I work as a trainer now, like, and all that stuff. I just want, like, when I, you know, when inevitably when I die, you know, which happens to everybody, like, I just want, like, on my tombstone, I wanted to say, like, he was a good hand. Like, and if you know what that is in wrestling, like, a good hand is like, this guy is reliable. Like, he's going to come and like, he might not be the guy who makes all the money. Like, but he might be the guy who helps the guy who makes all the money, who's the big draw, make all the money by giving him the you know, the best match. And like, and these people who may have saw me a little bit when I was coming up and things like that, they wrestle me and they're like, oh, you do actually still have it. Like, and you did obviously have it then, you know, and that's kind of all I really want. Like, it's like, I have my own business. I'm a successful guy. You know, like, this isn't, I would love to wrestle for money again, like for big money, like, but if that never happens, I'm not going to go home crying, like, you know. And I had another buddy in the business. He really helped me out, like, with a little bit of psychological stuff, just like talking to me and like being like, look, man, like, you've done all these things. Like, not many people can say they main evented, sold out Cork and Hall. I've done it twice. Like, you know, you know, I've accomplished a lot, but I feel like nobody knows about it. Like, and I don't know why, but that really got stuck in my craw. And I really would just like to show people now that, like, the internet was such a little thing when I was coming up. YouTube had just become a thing. And like, so like, I wasn't savvy at like getting all my shit out there and like having all these people know who I was and all, you know, I didn't self-promote correctly and stuff like that. And I really would like to accomplish is have people look back on my career now, my wrestling career, big air quotes around career, like, but my, whatever you want to call it, like my time in wrestling, and be like, yeah, okay, like, that kid probably could have been something. Like, you know, he like, for a moment, like, he actually had it. And if I could just get that, I'd probably be satisfied, but who knows? Like, because whenever you get that thing, you want something more. Like,
right.
So, but right now, I'm almost fighting for validation, honestly. And that sounds kind of sad, but it's very meaningful to me.
Now Jaeger and Glenn Spectre meeting up here in the middle of the ring.
Oh, Big Boss Slam! How about that?
The Big Boss is a scary, scary individual.